Remember good old days for a guy? After you took a piss, washing your hands was like a 3 to 5 second proposition. I miss those days. I'm Sam Lloyd, host of the Red Chair Life podcast, and this is another BS and coffee moment. I've had some time, this is the third week in the U.S., at least for Texas, Austin, Texas that is, that we've been in this quarantine where we had to work from home, and had a lot of funny thoughts. One thing that I realized that just recently, I believe yesterday, there's been a new mandate that we're required to wear face masks to go out in a public setting. Now, me, I'm a law-abiding citizen, so I would never commit a crime. But for all of y'all that live a life of crime, this is a windfall moment for you guys. I mean, just think about it. Everybody's out there wearing masks. Some are wearing normal masks, others are wearing bandanas. And you can commit any crime, because think about the policing. They show up. Ma'am, sir, can you describe this person? Well, he was wearing a mask. Not that I'm giving you guys suggestions, but seriously, y'all, this is a windfall for all y'all criminals right now. Oh goodness, let me rinse my hand. I believe I killed all the viruses. All right, come on. All right, y'all. I just want to tell you that as soon as this coronavirus situation is over, this is where I'm going to be. But in the meantime, I'm going to have to make do with this virtual reality of ours. This world is definitely going crazier and crazier by the day. One of the things that I've noticed, I'm trying to think about this thing since the coronavirus started and they implemented this social distancing. Why are they calling it social distancing? In my opinion, it should be called physical distancing. That's what it is, it's physical distancing. But why does the government and mainstream media call it social distancing? It almost seems that there's an ulterior motive that they're trying to separate the human side, where we're able to get together on a human level, communicate, and discuss what's going on. They just want the complete communication barrier between person to person to be eliminated, just by the terminology, social distancing. So I, for one, am going to change that terminology to call physical distancing. I want to be social, especially with the situation that's occurring right now. I think it's very, very important that people of all levels, backgrounds, kind of discuss what's going on and not let the mainstream media continue to push this social distancing, this fear, all this nonsense. So my plan is to become more social based on the platforms like this, and try to create more discussion, because I've noticed that people are beginning to get more and more in their own world as the mainstream media and the government put these new mandates, with the coronavirus scare, and every day it just seems to be building up and building up and building up. I have noticed that people are beginning to question a lot of things that's going on that just doesn't make sense. Like the social distancing thing is, who came up with the idea that 6 feet was the minimum distance to keep the virus from spreading? I don't know where that came from. It just for me as an engineer, I'm trying to figure out, is there data? Did somebody sit here and test this out? Does the virus, when it goes from 6 feet 1 inches further, it just dies? We're done. So questions like that, who thought up of this dimension of 6 feet, not 4, not 5, but 6 feet? So these are the things that, for me, it's just going to start question, and it just doesn't make sense. Now, back to this coronavirus, I went to the grocery shopping, and some of the things that you see out there is just amazing. Like right now, the city of Austin has a mandated requirement that if you go out in public for whatever, not whatever reason, but when you go out in public to do your necessities like buy, grocery foods, you're required to wear masks. And I have seen some crazy, crazy stuff from people wearing full face masks to be wearing bandanas to people, I think I saw one picture, kid you not, of a person wearing a tampon pad, So it is hilarious out there. But at the same time, it's kind of sad because it's just people are just doing everything that they're being told and not questioning why. Now, where I live, I know hundreds of people. Several of my friends know hundreds of people. And of all the people that I know, most of us don't know anybody that has a coronavirus. Is it like one or two here and there? But in general, we don't know a lot of people. Is it like literally less than a half of a percent? Now, this is based on my immediate family. But again, as I watch the news, they create a different perception. Now, some areas, I do agree, but at the same time, when you're walking out there, it's surreal. It just doesn't make sense at all. And then other things like the YouTubes, there's some crazy, crazy stuff out there that people are, saying that coronavirus is this, is that, the conspiracy theorists and all that stuff. And still, when you start questioning, some of the stuff that people are saying lately in terms of conspiratorial, like the New World Order, you have to sit back and think, it's just things, too many things are being coincidental. Now, when one or two things are coincident, you can go, okay. But when 3, 4, 5, 6 things just happens to be coincidental, then you have to question. Now, this message is mostly for those out there whose eyes are open and kind of see the time that we're in. It's very, very hard to let people know, but it just doesn't make sense because this is the first time, y'all, first time in the entire world's history that we have every governments that hate each other, people that hate each other, religions that hate each other, family members that hate each other. We're all being corralled and it's essentially listening to somebody telling us to self-quarantine. I mean, we're under a lockdown. And I find that fascinating because in the entire world of history that I'm aware of, I've never, never read a historical moment where everybody, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, governments, religions, groups, all are doing the same thing and not questioning. It's just like everybody's following this mandate and nobody's questioning, why do we have to do this? We're being told why because of the fear aspect, but at the same time, it fascinates me. And being inquisitive, as I stated, with the 6 foot rule, I have no idea where that came from. Is it 6 foot the distance that they know for a fact that viruses just keel over after they go beyond 6 feet? I don't know. But again, as we go further, as the weeks progress, and on the US side, we'll be going through the same thing as Italy is going through, and probably worse. But the main thing that for the American people, I'm hoping that common sense sets in, and we're not driven by fear of going, oh my God, oh my God. Now, I know for a fact a lot of the Italians, they've been in lockdown for over 5 weeks now. And they too are beginning to kind of question, what's going on? It just doesn't quite make sense in terms of what we're being told, what they're observing. Are people dying? Yes. But in terms of when you start checking things out, it just doesn't quite make sense. Like, for example, I was basing it on the number of deaths, for example, worldwide. The death rate really has not increased based on any appreciable level based on the numbers that are provided by the government. Yet we see all this information that, oh my God, the death is increasing and stuff like that. So all I'm asking is people to stop and kind of question what's going on, because it just doesn't, a lot of this stuff just doesn't make sense. And as I stated, like within the face mask stuff, I mean, it's hilarious. Now, whether or not the virus gets transmitted by air, I don't know. I've been taught that virus is not a living entity. It's not a being. You can't like catch a virus. It has to be some genetic material that's already within you, and the body reacts to that. That's what I've been taught in my science class. So the fact that they're treating this virus as some bug that can crawl up on you and, like I said, you have to question what you're being told. But the bottom line is, my wife told me, and she has a good point. I'm seeing these events that's happening. I'm concerned, as a husband, as a father. as a citizen, as a human member of this earth, that I'm concerned with what's happening, not because of the threat that the coronavirus is presenting. It's more along the lines as how can the entire world, there's over 7 billion people, and we have billions right now that all are doing the exact same thing and not questioning in general. There are a few people that, you know, are dissenting or putting YouTube stuff out, and those people that are dissenting, you know, their information on the social media is being shut down. And that's another question, you know, how is it that certain information, based on what YouTube or the government states, that they shut them down? And there's some crazy stuff out there in terms of what conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And as an example, yesterday I was watching a show called London Real by Brian Rose, and he interviewed this gentleman by the name of David Icke. David Icke has been a known conspiracy theorist for a long time. I've read some of his books, and what's so interesting is a lot of the things that he's discussed is transpiring now. What is the cause? I don't know. But what's so interesting is that on one of his YouTube sites during the interview, he was getting like, I don't know, something like 60 some odd thousand viewers at one point. It's a live interview, and it kept growing and growing. And for whatever reason, YouTube decided to shut him down. Now, my question is, you know, why is it that this one man, 60-year-old, you know, quack, as most people consider him, why would they shut him down immediately? I don't know that, because there's other YouTube stuff that talks about some crazy stuff about government conspiracy, the New World Order, the Illuminati, all that stuff. And of all those, why did they choose a 60-year-old man that's been known as a quack for many years? You know, he's been known as a quack, but incidentally, a lot of the things that he's presented has come to reality. So again, you have to ask yourself, why? So these are the things that I'm beginning to become more and more aware. But as my wife told me, that I have to keep things into perspective, because there are changes that are being made. And for all of you guys out there, you know, you preppers and these fanatical, I don't know, what are you, end of the world believers that, you know, based on the Bible. The bottom line is most of you guys are going through, you know, we got to fight, you got to do this. And the reality is most of you guys aren't going to do anything, number one. Number two, what are you going to do? The system is in place. I mean, this thing is a monumental worldwide movement that I still can't comprehend how the entire world is doing the same thing. But the bottom line is, you know, we're going to have to survive this thing all together. Is it going to be a positive outcome? Initially, no. I mean, we have to face reality. Right now, I had spoke to my nephew. You know, about 90% of his workforce was laid off. And that's just the beginning. That's going to be the norm for a lot of these small businesses. So the situation is not going to become better very quickly. We will overcome it. But the bottom line is that we have to keep a positive attitude. That's what my wife stressed. She said, you were getting too much into the, you know, worrying about this, watching too much YouTube by the end of the world, doom and gloom. And you know what? She is absolutely right. We have to maintain a positive attitude. But at the same time, guys, you know, we have to use humor, but we can't completely ignore what's going on. We have this certain amount of seriousness that we have to realize that there are changes happening around us. You know, when you go to the store, like I've been going to the store every week, and I've noticed there's less and less food in terms of the stores being fully stocked. So those are the things like, you know, we can't go around going, oh, no. It's like, you know, there's something not quite right. So like a lot of my friends, you know, I told them, look, I don't know what's going to wind up happening, but based on my observation, it's a good idea to go out there and buy 2 weeks worth of, you know, rice and beans, just in case something happens. Because most of us that you go out in the store, you can tell there's a dramatic difference. The stuff that's normally available is getting less and less and less. And I know in the people in the US, this coronavirus quarantine, I think we've just started. We haven't even come close to the apex of how bad the thing is going to get, or at least what the media is portraying how bad this is going to be initially. So I just want people to, you know, be prepared. Don't put your head in the sand. Definitely not. Just pay attention to what's going on. Maintain a positive attitude. I'm going to try my best to send out as much positive information as possible to keep people uplifted. But at the same time, I'm going to tell them, look, you know, this is what's happening. Again, I'll try to use humor to make people laugh. But the bottom line is, I want everybody to pray that everybody's safe. We are going to have to go through this entire ordeal together. This virtual setting behind here, it's going to be real. I have it in my mind that when this is over, this is where I'm going to be with my family, my wife and my daughter, we're going to enjoy 2 weeks of sitting on the beach doing absolutely nothing. So in closing, be safe and subscribe. And we'll get that back with you guys very shortly with some new survival techniques that I'm working on right now that I think will be very, very beneficial. Your survival is going to be dependent on this. See you guys later.